What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the No Blood, No Foul podcast. I'm your host, Jim, tonight. Slice has the night off. I'm here with Moo, our executive producer, and I'm here with our tech guy, Kyle. Well, tonight was not exactly the most fun night of basketball we watched. We played a very undermanned Pistons team. They only had two of their starters in the starting lineup, and they kind of beat us up like pretty badly in the first half. Um, I personally kind of thought that we were going to be expecting a big blowout, a lot of time from the kids. That did not happen. The Knicks were actually down at halftime, 56-52. Tibbs must have blew a gasket or went wild because the Knicks defense finally showed up in the third quarter and or in the second half, and we ended up holding them to 44 points. And it also finally woke up Julius Randle, who put in 21 of his 29 points and absolutely dominated the third quarter. And then our boy, the best center on the team, the timeless Taj Gibson,
Mm.
added his own 21 points, hitting off the dribble jumpers, hitting 3-point shots, doing more things off the dribble than RJ Barrett ever has. It was a sight to see, and he's pretty much dominated these first three preseason games, and it makes it really tough for me to say that Mr. Norlands or Mitch should have guaranteed minutes. But that might be a little bit of too hot of a take for the introduction. Moo, why don't you give me your thoughts on the game?
I think they want to do the minutes thing, not with just Rose, but with Taj. But yeah, Taj was great today. Um, it's like he found the fountain of early middle age. He really on the defensive end, and he's always been Taj, right? And he knows where to go. But offensively, yeah, I mean, we saw it. It's crazy. I don't think I've seen him play this well offensively since probably USC. Um, so he did a heck of a job. As far as replacing, I mean, I think it's good, right? It's always good because we got the two guys ahead of him are injury prone. That's just kind of the reality. But so we have three guys that can play. So they need two of those guys to remain healthy for the season to have a chance. I think, again, I'm not a fan of Nerlens Noel. I've really never been. And this kind of validates some of
No
my
way.
my
You
feelings.
you've held
Um,
that so close to the
yeah,
chest and so
yeah,
secretive
right.
this whole time.
Uh-huh. I'm hoping that Mitch comes back. He's going to be critical, I think. He needs to play well. Taj, great game and all, but he can't obviously replicate this for an entire season.
Why
So
not?
I think um, I'd
He's
be amazed.
old.
I think he's old. Yeah. Jim said it right there. He's old. I just don't think it's realistic. Definitely can't go with Sims and Sims for any significant minutes.
No.
Um, Jericho is like Kyle, like you said, defensively, he's not there. He's a big athletic physical guy. Defense he's lost. Amir Sims is not an NBA player. I mean, he looked really good for. He's kind of like he was like who's that Nick that Lance Thomas? He's like a taller Lance Thomas. He does the right things, but he's not an NBA caliber player, and they can't go with him for any minutes. So I think
That's the perks of having three centers on the roster.
right,
That
right,
God forbid you're in a
right.
situation like we are right now, and think it's the preseason.
It is.
Taj Gibson can show up and play those minutes. But I just again, it's just like the fact that he just has like a jump shot and like a little bit of a post move, and like
Mhm.
touch around the basket. It's so I feel like it's so tough to play Nerlens over Taj, and Noel was really good last year, but like
He
I
was.
could I could see I could still see Isaiah Stewart bullying him just as well as he bullied everybody else on the front line.
Right, but the
Now
difference the difference with Taj is that Taj will outmaneuver him and
he's
just
crafty.
outs right. Nerlens, I mean he's a high energy guy, right? He'll scramble, he'll scrap. But he has obviously very low skills on the offensive end. Taj showed he has some. And defensively, he's he does things obviously well. I don't want to knock him too much. But he doesn't do the things that I consider important for an NBA center, which is to intimidate in alter shots. He blocks shots, absolutely. He doesn't really alter shots, right? The
He's
reason
he's
why,
uh he's like a weak side shot
right,
blocker.
right,
Yeah.
right, right. And we've seen, against the Hawks, the type of center that works, right? So if it's a center that can't shoot, you need a guy that can really make guys think twice about driving to the basket. Nerlens Noel doesn't do that. Mitch Robinson does.
I
That's
think,
Yeah,
that's really
I
big.
think the other part is that you need that vertical spacing that Mitch provides
Right.
that Noel doesn't
Correct.
because he's not as good
Correct.
at Weeper, so you can't throw him
Correct.
lobs as much.
Correct.
Now we have to worry about Fat Mitch if he's going to be able to jump as high
Hey,
as he
thick
That was
used to be
Mitch.
able to.
Look,
No,
Thick
no
with
fat
two
shaming here.
Cs.
yeah, that is a concern.
A bowl of oatmeal, Mitch.
But yeah, I mean, getting back to the game, the team did. I mean, they were sluggish. You have to give credit to the Pistons. They came out and they played really scrappy, and I think the Knicks were not prepared for it. It's the third game in, so I wouldn't be too worried about that.
Yeah, I think they just thought they were just going to cruise, and they
Right.
kind of played down to the competition. And then all of a sudden, once halftime happened, I don't think there was really any adjustments, but they woke up. They were just like, oh yeah, like we're way better than these guys.
Right.
There's something that we need to do here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was honestly it was really great to see Randall explode and score a ton of points. Because again, it's like I think we were all a little fearful that he's going to take a step back. And that second half performance made me like that was most improved Randall again. So it seems like he's not going to take that step back, and he's going to be just as good.
Yeah, that was last season's Randall. I think with Walker out, he kind of didn't want to try to do what he was doing last season, the first half. But then he, at some point he realized, look, my team's behind. I have to do what I have to do, and he did it. So it's clear, right? He's both teams' best players. He's clearly the better one. Jeremy Grant is kind of a high end, second tier player. Yeah. It's not even a comparison. But yeah, I think one thing I want to say is the Pistons. They're not a good team, but they have guys that kind of can play. So there's some potential, I think, down the road for solid role players on that team. So I don't know if that's something that we can pilfer or poach at some point, but
yeah, like Kelly Olynyk is solid.
Yeah. Olynyk would have been a good complementary, right? A fit, because he'll bring things that the Knicks other centers don't. He's smart. Olynyk was one of them.
He'd be a solid, like, in that Taj Gibson role.
Right.
So here's the thing that I wanted to mention. Tonight we had 28 assists on 41 made field goals. Against the Wizards, we had 27 assists on 38 field goals, and on against the Pacers, we had 26 assists on 46 field goals. This seems like a way different offense from last year, and the ball is like really flying around. And it's I'm kind of really enjoying this. It's kind of giving me that 2014 Hawks vibe, where it's like everyone's like pretty good, and there's no really like number one scorer type of guy, and the ball is just whizzing around to the open man. And let me hear your thoughts on that, Moo.
Yeah, they're moving definitely a lot better. First two games with Walker in, it moved even better. But I think, with Walker out, it changes things a little bit. But they're definitely, the passing is there. The passing is there's last season they passed, but it was kind of like pointless passing to pass. Yeah. I think this season so far, the passing has been more purposeful. There's a reason for it, and they're moving it. It's going north towards the basket, not side to side to side to side. So definitely, I think the passing would work. I'm kind of, I don't want to say I'm concerned, but did they say why was it Walker's decision or?
I think it was just a rest day. That's what I think I saw at the beginning of the game. That they were just like, he's going to sit tonight for rest. Okay. And I think that was the plan. I think that every one of the starters are going to miss like one of the preseason games. Okay. Because there's only 4 of them. Right.
That's what I was kind of. That was, if it was more, because I think 4 is the least they've had in a while. Yeah. And you'd figure they'd want everybody to play as much as possible, especially with Tibbs. So if it's nothing, then that's fine. But I was a little concerned.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised because I figured Rose rolled his ankle against the Wizards. So I figured that tonight would be his night to sit, but I guess they went with Kemba. And the another observation that I noticed is that like moving Rose off the bench kind of like changes the dynamic of the bench like a lot.
Yeah.
They're definitely not as good without Rose with them, um, which says a lot of how great he is. He still is, and obviously there's still glimpses of that number one pick. Many knee surgeries ago, but yeah, having as much as Quick has improved with his playmaking, just having him on ball all the time just doesn't seem like a great idea.
Yeah, he doesn't strike me as a guy that has great ball control. Not the
Yeah,
type that you want to see from a point guard. So
I
yeah,
just feel like I also think he's just like he doesn't get that same purposeful dribble penetration that Rose seems to do. Like
right,
Rose gets into the teeth of the
right.
defense and like he collapses a bunch of guys. I feel like IQ doesn't accomplish that as
And
well.
that's kind of feel, right? Because Rose is definitely, if it's not MVP Rose, he would just use his explosiveness. This
To
is a
dunk on
slower,
everyone, yeah.
more calculated, but he still gets in because he can see it. As soon as there's an open, he's gone.
Yeah.
That's just point guard instincts, or guard instincts, or whatever you want to call it. IQ doesn't really have that yet. He's still, he's still trying to draw fouls.
Yeah.
He tried that a few times and didn't work. And he's dribbling kind of, east west around the perimeter, but really not attacking. So I'm
We
hope.
also we just get like no home cooking either. It's like I feel
Oh
bad for
yeah, yeah,
all these guys that
right,
suit up for us that are used to drawing a ton of fouls.
right.
Like RJ ended up shooting 7 for free throws tonight, but like he's like another one that like they don't really give any respect to.
Oh, it
And
felt like the regular season. We weren't getting any
yeah,
calls.
yeah,
Yeah, it was amazing.
it's brutal. They ended up shooting 23 free throws to our 16.
Yeah,
And like that's not like a huge discrepancy. It's only 7, but still like that's 7 extra opportunities for free
right,
points.
right, right.
And they weren't like doing any more driving into the paint than we were, but yeah, not
Same kind of physical play. I mean, there were, more slapping and bumping. I think Knicks played better defense, and yet they got called, right? So it's cleaner defense. I don't want to say better defense. Knicks
yeah.
played cleaner defense. Pistons were just being aggressive. They're using their athleticism, energy, and they weren't getting calls. A lot of those they were fouling. It
Yeah.
was pretty clear. And just
But I feel like we should talk a little bit about RJ. Not the
Before you
greatest.
do that, can we just go back a second? When you're talking about the assists, right? So I did the math. So we're at a roughly 27 assists per 42 field goals made the preseason, which is roughly 64% of made field goals are assisted. Last
Cool.
year, we were only at 54% for the whole season.
It's a pretty dramatic upgrade.
Yes.
Yeah, how at 27 assists per game, where would that place us offensively last year?
I really should have looked that up before I did that stuff. I thought about that. Give me 1 second to check, and I will tell you
Because
that
I'm going to
that
say
would
we were
put us
probably in the
that would put us at third in the league
wow.
last year. Only the
Okay.
Pacers and Warriors had more than 27.
Yeah, that's impressive. Yeah, because and I like kind of hammered on this a lot last year. I was like, I always felt like there was more to Tibbs' offense than what we saw last year. Because I know like he ran a bunch of triangle action in Chicago, and like it was like so basic and so boring. And now you see this year, it's like all of a sudden we have more pieces, and it's like way more interesting and way more dynamic. Um, so I'm glad that Tibbs had more in the tool bag. As like for such a renowned coach, you would figure that he would have a little bit more of an offense system, and we're seeing that.
By
If
the way, do you know where we ended up last year in assists per game?
I'm going to say 28th.
29.
27.
Close.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah. Only the Blazers were worse than us. But to
Yeah,
be fair,
they have 2 elite ISO scorers, and
yeah.
we had Julius
But
Randle.
yeah, but to be fair, we also played at a really slow pace. You adjust for pace. We're 27th. Good job, Moo.
that was expected.
Damn. So I won for Price is Right, but not for adjustment for pace.
I mean
Uh,
that with Alfred Payton as your starting point guard, you're guaranteed your pace to be awful and your passing to be awful and your offense to be
Also,
predictable. And
Randall doesn't really like to run in transition
no, he doesn't.
either.
No,
Yeah, for like a big that like gets the ball and likes to push it up the floor, he really goes at a very leisurely pace. And it's like this takes away like a little bit of your advantage of you being on the
right,
break. It's because
right,
you're a bull in the china shop.
right. And he gives the opposing defenses time to set up. Right. And,
Yeah.
I think part of it is also somebody had to get those assists. I don't want to. I don't. I'm not knocking Randall for his assist numbers last year, but I think at the end of the day, with Peyton, just not exactly nobody else really racking up the assist numbers. Somebody had
Right.
to. And Randall touched the ball so often that he was bound to see his assist numbers go up.
And
Yeah.
speaking of assists, our leading assist man tonight was R.J. Barrett, who Jim was about to talk about, right?
I know. That's a beautiful segue there, Kyle. Maybe you should be
Well
the
done.
host. Yeah. Kind of a brutal offensive game for him today. There was like one point in the third quarter where he was matched up with Olynyk and he just blew right past them and he was like had a wide open layup and he like chucked it off the backboard. He definitely bricked a bunch of shots tonight, but the playmaking was really good. The defense was good. Obviously, he led the team in assists. He had a bunch of really great passes that found Taj Gibson for like short mid range jumpers. Um, yeah, I'm a little disappointed. I thought we would see a little bit more off the dribble stuff from him, and he's kind of like just taking it upon himself to do the 3-and-D things, which is fine. He did have like a couple pull up jumpers in the first game, but yeah, I was just I expected to see a little bit more, or like him attempt a little bit more stuff. And you can't like you struggle to finish through contact. You can't
Right.
be missing wide open layups. Like I'm sorry, like I got that when Miles Turner's in the paint, and you might miss a layup because he messes with your shot. But they had no shot blocking out on the floor tonight. That was just ugly.
Yeah, I mean, I think part the reality is Barrett's more like our Carmelo, you know, if it's sized, athletic guard, forward, not a guard. I don't think he's a shooting guard. He just doesn't have the explosive. Carmelo, he wasn't the type either to drive to the basket and look to do anything, right? And yet he was able to score. I think what amazes me is Barrett's not a small guy. He's strong, but he has problem finishing, right? I don't know if that's just more experience, using angles,
He doesn't have good touch.
right?
I think that's really what it comes down to is that I think that open layup that I mentioned
Right.
is like the perfect indicativeness of him not being good touch. He had a wide open layup, went with the right hand, and he threw it hard off the backboard.
Right.
Like he was able to attack too fast. And he chucked it off the backboard.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's a thing
Right.
that you can learn. He seemed to has figured it out for his jumper.
Hmm.
But yeah, he needs to work on that
Then he's got to
because
work with Burks, right, on being crafty around the basket,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
right,
So what do you
yeah,
what do you guys think? I don't know if I've asked you about this, but I've been comparing him a lot to Chris Middleton in that way. Of he's sort of like learning from the outside in. He's getting his three and D stuff down, and then slowly working in the ability to score off the dribble.
maybe,
Yeah, and one thing I said in the forum too is that like they had the Olympics this year. Obviously, the playoffs went much later into the year than they normally do. Like I feel like if this was like last season was like a normal NBA season, like we would have probably been wrapped up like the beginning of
hmm,
May ish because we would have lost in the first round. We weren't done until the end of June. Or the end of May. I'm sorry, I'm getting my timelines mixed up. And then there was like Olympic stuff. So like I just don't think there was like a lot of time for him to work with Hanlon on the off the dribble stuff. So I was like hoping to see more flashes, but at the same time, I wasn't expecting him to be very successful at it. And I think next year, if he's ever going to learn the off the dribble stuff, it's going to be next year or coming into next season.
I mean, to be fair, he does look better, a little bit smoother than he was last season. Last season was just a mess whenever he tried to go to the basket.
Yeah.
He's smoothly still having problems finishing. At least I think he's getting there. His steps are a little bit quicker. and it's a little cleaner. He's just not finishing, whether it's getting blocked or whatever it is. But
Yeah.
last season was just kind of out of control.
Yeah.
A lot of times, right? So it's possible. I think the Middleton comparison um, is good. I think Middleton has better shooting form and he's lengthier, and I don't know if they're
Yeah,
it,
I don't know what a good comp for RJ is. Like maybe like Jalen Brown, maybe I don't know, but still like
yeah.
he's gonna. There was like an opportunity tonight where he had like a chance at a pull up three, and instead of launching the pull up three, he like tossed it to Taj, who threw it right back to him for the jumper to make it more of like a catch and shoot
Mhm.
like movement shot. And again, it's like I watched that one YouTube video where he was playing with Beal and Tatum, and he was hitting a bunch of those shots. Maybe he's just not confident in it yet, but yeah, like that was the opportunity. I was like really hoping that he would let it fly, and he didn't.
It's
So
weird because I don't consider him a shooter. Right, I know
yeah,
he shot above 40% from three last season, and he took quite a number of them. But he just doesn't strike me as a shooter. His form isn't really clean. A lot of times he's a little off, and he misses badly, and so I think his forte is going to be scoring kind of all over the floor. So the ability to hit the three, I don't think he'll be able to maintain 40%. Obviously, I think he'll be more like a 37%, 38% type guy, which is probably pretty good. He's just got to be able to hit the mid range, do a little better on his finishing. I think he can be a pretty solid offensive player.
yeah,
Not
I think that's what like because of his struggles with his finish, I would like to see him attempt more pull up jumpers, and I know
right,
that's
right.
like not what you're supposed to do because that's like being phased out in the NBA. But for someone that struggles to finish like he does,
Mhm.
maybe stop on a dime and pull
Right,
up.
right. Exactly.
Like it's not a super efficient shot for you to be at the rim. Maybe let's see if we can because I mean his mid range percentages were like pretty horrendous last year. I think they were like 28% and like low 30s. You get that to like high 30s, and that's like a little bit better of a shot than your 55% at the rim. I don't know. It's
Right,
something that
right,
he might need
right.
to consider. Um,
RJ's mid range was around 32% from 3 to
okay.
16 feet, but for long twos, that's 16 foot to the 3 point line, he was just under 40%. But I will
Yeah,
say
that was
those
insanely
were
low
all
volume.
those were
Right.
all significant improvements over his rookie year, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, you can see the guy, he competes, right? So he doesn't give up, and he's got solid physical tools. He's not afraid. So that works for him, getting better, right? He looks like he's a hard worker.
But
He
he
definitely
was
is
also
improving.
like
So
relentless attacking today because like he doesn't get 6 assists if he's not
right.
driving a lot.
Mhm.
And I think that's what's so frustrating is that he can get there, and
Right.
just that he just can't hit those shots. I mean, because
Yeah.
also coming into tonight, he was our best 3 point shooter in the first two games. He was shooting 50%. I mean, there was only a matter of time before he was coming back down to earth
Sure.
for a game. But yeah,
So speaking of 3 point shooting, here's my spicy take for the night. Kevin Knox has outplayed Obi Toppin.
Today's game, yeah,
yes,
definitely.
yeah. I'll say
Right. Yeah.
today's game
The fact that you
definitely.
have to think about it is bad.
No, but I think that's the not wanting to say Knox is better at anything. But he played well. His defense was much better. He even though he allowed a couple of two or three pointers, he was defended relatively well, a lot better than he used to defend it, which was nothing, right? He would just stand there, look at the guy. He played well. He made, I think he made two threes or three threes,
Two threes
two
tonight.
threes. He's
I'm trying.
playing, yeah. Uh,
I'm trying to remember what Obi did in the first game. It's like neither of them really put together a complete game. The last game, like Knox was elite in the first half, and then Obi dominated the second half of the game on Saturday. Um, yeah, so I'm trying to like put this together in my mind whether Knox has actually been better. Because they split half each in the last game, and then
I'll
Knox
say,
was
I'll
definitely
say, I'll
better
say,
tonight.
if I'm not being intentionally spicy with it, I think it's been about even. overall.
Yeah.
But Knox definitely outplayed him tonight.
Yeah.
And for me, you look at it, Knox is a much better 3-point shooter. Like that is his thing, I guess. He's not great at it. Obi really doesn't have a thing at this point. And the fact that he's a year older than Knox, that's concerning.
Yeah, that's not if Knox can really figure out a way to pick up his defense, he has decent defensive tools. Right, he's long, he's got long arms, and he can shoot the three. That'll work in the NBA. Right, Obi is Obi. I mean, he's shown flashes. But if you look at what the Knicks need, I said they still, I think, need a long kind of rangy perimeter defender that can shoot a three, and that kind of is Knox, right? If he can.
No, that's Mikhail Bridges.
Someone else comes.
Actually.
Well, yeah, that is Mikhail.
Well, yeah, but on this, I think Knox is probably closer. Do I think he's gonna win the spot over Obi? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's done exactly what he needed to do, Knox. He made it a competition, which is not something that we would have been talking about, you know, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So that, the kid does have a work ethic, which is good. I mean, he's come a long way from, the Fortnite liner in a suit. I guess all the power is in his little chin beard now.
Hey, don't tap the chin beard.
Yeah, because I think the one thing is that he seemed to have worked through his motor issues, at least in these preseason games. He's been consistent in his effort, not really like floating and drifting around. He's like constant in his movement and stuff like that, which is like the one thing that Obi had on top over him is that Obi's just like a ball of energy and he's moving all around all the time, which makes it a little tough to put Knox in over him. But I don't know. I wouldn't want to be Tibbs right now and having to make that decision.
I think there is a good like rotational player in Knox, but it's buried deep somewhere. He'll probably figure out once he goes to Dallas after this year.
I mean, if nothing else, maybe he's playing his way into allowing the Knicks to get something back in the trade, right? Because up until based on last season, I don't think the Knicks would be able to get much of anything, right?
I'm still annoyed that we didn't send him down because what did the Magic get for Evan Fournier? Like nothing. It was like 2 second rounders.
They got 2 second-round picks.
Yeah, like we could have easily sent Knox and 2 second rounders down to get him last year, and we just I don't know. Felt like an easy, and now that he's here now, it just felt like an easy deal that we could have had, and we may have looked a little bit better against the Hawks. But
so should we talk about Evan Fournier a little bit? I think his defense has been a lot better than anticipated.
Yeah.
That's
better.
That's another thing that I've noticed as well. I'm kind of surprised. I thought we would miss Bullock more than we have. Fournier's filled in admirably, and RJ has been really good defensively as well. Moon, talk to me. Talk to me about Evan.
I think it's been with Fournier, it's been kind of unexpected on both ends. Defensively, he's done really well. His offense has been kind of like on and off. I'm just hoping it's because he's trying to fit in right with everybody else, and he's trying to figure out what the pecking order is and what he should do, and he doesn't want to come off as being too selfish. But his shooting has been not good. Although I think he hit at least 1 3 today. But yeah, it's. I mean, he is what he is. He's an upgrade over Bullock. I don't care what anybody else says. You just cannot win with Bullock as your dependent upon offensive player. And Bullock, Bullock is a backup. He's not a starter. Fournier is more of a starter, and the Knicks need guys that can actually play the role that they need him to play in. So I'm fine with Fournier so far. I think he'll eventually come around, and he knows how to play. Right, he's been around for a while. He knows how to score. He knows how to distribute. Defense, he's gonna, like we've said, playing for Tibbs. You don't have to be a great individual defender, right? To make an impact, you just need to be smart and know where you need to go and not give up plays, right? So I think Fournier could do that.
Yeah, I mean, how much was the good defense tonight because he was guarding, Frank Jackson or Saban Lee,
Right.
I,
Right.
um, yeah, I mean, he's been like much better shooting in other nights. I don't think we can really like tell anything about tonight. Him and Kemba seem to have a chemistry, and I feel like once Kemba's off the floor and he's not there, that he loses a little bit of pep to his step.
Hmm.
Yeah, as great as Rose was, I mean, Rose is always so good. Yeah, everything just seems to fit much better when he's on the bench and Kemba's playing. I
Right.
mean, like I'm like hopeful that Kemba doesn't end up getting too banged up this year, so we can get more of this. So like, I like us 1 through 10. I like us 1 through 10 a lot, but as soon as you start shifting and moving pieces around, it starts to look a little bit more ugly.
Yeah, this team, if everybody's healthy, lines up to be a lot better team. From a expectation role perspective. You don't have backups playing being starters, and you don't have guys that are used to averaging 8 points, needing to score 15 points. For the team to have a chance. So I think
Yeah.
if everybody can stay healthy, I mean, Kemba, he doesn't need to play 35, 34 minutes a game. If you keep it around 30, I think that would be pretty good. 30, 31. You got Rose, right? So Rose can come off and play more of an elite backup point guard. So you can give Walker the rest, but you cannot have Rose starting, right? So
And
that's really the key.
it's not even that Rose can't start. It's just that like everything just fits better. Like having him next to IQ and Burks
Hmm.
gives them like a number one option off the bench.
Right,
And you saw like I think Obi's struggles tonight too was because he didn't have Rose playing guard with him. Just all that stuff.
right.
All that stuff matters. Like the ball whips around because you have to double sometimes. You have to double Rose a lot of the time coming off the pick and roll. You don't necessarily have to do that with IQ.
Yeah, Rose is a go-to guy, right,
Yeah.
within his minutes limits. So if you have Rose coming off the bench, you're guaranteed kind of almost 48 minutes at any given point that you'll have a go-to guy,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's Randall or whether it's Rose when the bench is on. So that's why it's also very key for Rose to remain where he is, which is on the bench as the go-to bench guy. Top teams have guys like that can score, right? The
Yeah.
Hawks we saw with Blue Williams, and you need guys that could come off the bench and score and carry the load. So, yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on tonight's game?
Just on
Kyle?
tonight's game, because I have some thoughts about other stuff. But I don't know. Do we want to get into how
Yeah,
how
let's
glad?
let's.
Do we want to get into how glad we are
Oh,
that
what up the next?
Kyrie is in Brooklyn and not New York right now?
All right, let me
Or
ask
actually,
you
no, he's
guys.
not in Brooklyn. He can't be in Brooklyn.
You can't be in
Yeah, he
Brooklyn.
can't be in
Oh,
Brooklyn.
he's anywhere but Brooklyn.
All right, so hypothetically, let me ask you guys: if the Knicks, right, screw the cap, if the Knicks can get Irving for anyone, would you want him on this team?
No.
Even for 40 games, 35 games, 30, whatever, however many games he'd play.
No.
No,
Yeah.
I
All right.
mean, like from a pure basketball perspective, like yeah, obviously he would
Mhm.
be our best player, probably, depending on how much you view him versus Randall.
Right.
But I don't want all the circus that comes with it. Like if he would take the shot and just let it all go behind him, absolutely I take him. But all the media circus plus you have to figure we're gonna be missing him in the playoffs for 3 or 4 games of a series. That's putting yourself at such a disadvantage. Like the Nets are
I
fine because
also
he's their third best player, but
right.
when he'd be your best player, you can't do that.
Well, also I think too, like he's shown to fail as the best player on your team.
Oh yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
those Cleveland teams, and he's great. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of those Cleveland teams, they were really bad before LeBron came back. Those Celtics teams, they went further without him when he was hurt. Then they underachieved with him. I wouldn't have been shocked if they didn't make the Harden move last year. That team would have underachieved too. But yeah, you have to pair him with someone better than him because as good as he is. I guess the term I feel like is appropriate for him. He's like a ceiling raiser, not a floor raiser. Where it's like you add him to an already really good team. Like I feel like if you sent him down to Philly, with Embiid, and Embiid's still the best player on that team. I feel like that might like raise the ceiling of Philly, but I feel like if you bring him here, where he's going to be the best player, and as good as Randall is, he's not better than Kyrie Irving. Yeah, it just wouldn't work.
Who would you guys compare Kyrie to from any player in basketball history? Yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely he's a super talented guy, probably one of the most talented guards in the NBA. But he's really not someone you look at and say, yeah, he's a winner. He can carry you to somewhere. So who would
I
you guys
have
compare?
I have a
Yeah,
perfect one.
sure.
Former Knick point guard,
Mhm.
Stephon Marbury.
Hmm.
A little kooky, a
Yeah.
scoring guard.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
It's pretty good.
yeah.
Oh,
It was the first name that came to
yeah,
mind.
yeah.
Oh,
It reminds me of like when he was in New Jersey, and then the Nets were like struggling. They weren't a very good team, and then they did the kid for Marbury swap, and all of a sudden the Nets took off like a lightning rod, and Phoenix sucked.
Right, and then when Phoenix made the basically replaced them with Nash.
Yeah, they
Right,
took off.
right,
Yeah, exactly.
right,
It's like Marbury had all the talent in the world, but
right.
he
That's
wasn't a winning player.
Kyle.
I'm gonna go a little unorthodox here with this one because
Oh,
I can't really think for some reason right now. Pre 2019 Dwight Howard,
mm,
right? I mean,
Elaborate.
like
right,
all the talent in
Elaborate.
the world, right?
right.
Struggles to be the number one option, has a huge media circus around him.
That's true. Yeah. White was yeah, he just seemed to attract unnecessary attention. He brought it on himself
Hmm.
Yeah, I
to do
mean,
that. Yeah.
before the back injury, he was the number one option on a team that went to the NBA Finals. I see what you're saying, but I think it's a little unfair to Mr. Dwight.
Well, you also have to
Superman.
remember that my knowledge of NBA pop culture, that stuff, I'm not really up to date with that. That stuff
Yeah.
kind of falls out of my head. I can't even remember what the main storylines were from 3 years ago.
Right. Well, also, it's very tough to
Um,
compare him to like players that are still playing. It's like because you could go like maybe like Westbrook too would be a similar guy to
oh yeah, that's true.
Kyrie, but like he's a peer. How can you compare him to like one of the guys that he plays against? Like
Mhm.
insane talent, puts up crazy numbers, but a little bit crazy and tough to deal with.
Yeah, that's true. That's Westbrook is an interesting comparison. I think
Yeah.
right. It's top
I mean,
tier
they're
talent. Yeah.
Both
I
played
mean,
with
they
James
play the
Harden.
game way differently. Yeah, they both played with James Harden. But yeah, I don't know. Moo, what are you
Mm.
thinking?
I don't know. Originally, I was gonna say AI, but I
It's not a
think
bad.
Iverson was a little bit more competitive, and he had to carry some teams, and his teams, you know, didn't go deep in the playoffs. I think only once did they hit the Eastern Conference Finals, but
No, he made the
he was
finals.
did he?
The shadow, him
Oh yeah,
stepping
that's right.
over. Yeah,
I live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
right.
I got another one actually. What's his name? Oh my God. He converted to Islam. He was a
Oh,
Nuggets guard.
Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf,
Yeah. Yes.
Chris
Yeah,
Jackson.
That's
yeah,
Chris
but
Jackson. Yes.
Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf actually stood for something, like actually stood for something. Kyrie's just being contrarian because he thinks he's smarter than everybody.
Yeah,
But also,
but
so not to get on too much of a tangent here, but
yeah,
how ridiculous is the phrase "do your own research"? Like, what does that mean, right? Serious question. Does that mean conduct your own tests? Because let me just be real. I do not have the time, money, or patience to do that. I don't think most people do, and you don't know how to do that. It doesn't mean go like read the studies for yourself. Because if it does, it's gonna say the same thing that everyone else who's read the studies have said. I don't get what research. Jeff Van Gundy said the same thing. What research are you doing?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
And again, I don't want to get like too off on a tangent, but like I see like a lot of people post like screenshots from like academic studies that are like usually like kind of like out of context and would make things like look worse than they actually are. You know, like it
Mm.
does seem to happen pretty frequently. Um, but yeah, I don't want to get too political and get demonetized. So I think we should we'll change
Yeah.
the subject.
It's only political because the people that don't want to get it are making it political.
Fair enough. Yeah. So, any other thoughts on the game? Any other Knicks thoughts going into because our last preseason game is what, Friday? I'm saying that with a high pitched voice because I'm not sure. Yes,
I think it is Friday. Yeah.
yes, Friday 7:30 against the lovely Washington Wizards. Um,
Um.
yeah, what I'm hoping to see is I want to see some Mitchell Robinson. I hope he gets to play. I think.
Well, that's
I
right. They
think
said he's almost ready, right? Or he
Yeah,
could have played.
it'd be nice to get him some minutes, and I'd also like to see him get some game time, so he could lose a couple lbs, because once you get seriously playing, there's no way he's going to be that 280 still. You know what I mean? And yeah, I'm looking for a bounce back game from RJ Barrett, and I'd like to see a little bit more Kemba Walker as well. Moo, any thoughts for Friday? Are you excited for?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I mean, it's been 3 preseason games that it's preseason is preseason, but we see signs that things are I gotta remember to bet on the Knicks. By the way, um, on the odds. What was it? 40? What was the 40 wins they were predicting?
It was
Oh,
low
yeah,
low
this
40s, I think.
low 40s. This team's gonna win more than that, I think. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's been very positive. I have a really good vibe with this team. That last season is not a sham.
Yeah.
I think I think they'll do well. So I'm excited just to see everybody. Yeah, definitely Mitch on because you want to see what you think would be your starters at least for one game, right? Everybody on the floor, even if it's for like 10, 15 minutes. Um, yeah, I'm excited. When does the season start? Wednesday, the following
It starts in 1 week, I think, October
1
20th.
week. Okay, yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah, our first game is the 20th. The season starts the day before on the 19th
Okay.
with Brooklyn and Milwaukee, and that'll be fun. And then Golden State, LA. That'll be
You
good.
guys, you guys think it's been quiet, and you think the Knicks will make a move before the season starts, or no?
Nah,
Before the season start, no.
Okay.
Teams don't do
At-
that usually. When was the
Oh,
last time a team did
yeah.
that? I think
That's a good question.
I like the one that sticks out to me for some reason is I'm pretty sure Jeremy Grant got traded to the Thunder like the week before the season started a couple years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember
Yeah.
that.
I don't know why I remember that. But yeah, teams don't make big moves right before the season starts unless it's like something super.
We've got like chemistry and stuff like that, so I can't even imagine
What?
making a move right now. Although I wouldn't be shocked if
Knox moves, Knox or something, just something small, right? Something.
I still
'Cause
think I think he would be like a deadline thing. I think you would
Mm.
want to like see if you could be like send obviously rebuilding teams like to sell at the deadline, and maybe there'll be like another Evan Fournier on the market, like how Boston bought him last year at the deadline. Maybe there'll be something like that.
Is there even a
mean-
Ross? But is there even a roster spot for everybody that all the named guys, including Knox and the guys they drafted?
Yes,
It is?
yes.
Okay.
I think cutting Vildoza guaranteed Knox a spot.
Okay.
I don't think they would have. I don't think they would have cut Knox anyway. But yeah, I think Vildoza going. I think either guarantees Knox a spot and the Rooks, and maybe Bacon. But
Okay.
I feel like Bacon not playing is a sign that he may not be on the roster either.
Sure.
So, all right. We got anything else we're thinking about?
We're doing
I'm
well.
just excited
Yeah.
that we're playing modern NBA basketball on offense for once.
Oh yeah.
With Tibbs coaching.
Yeah, that's crazy. So this is just so the last time the Knicks had a top 5 offense was 2013. The time
Yeah.
before that was 1973.
Jeez.
Yeah, we haven't had an above average offense since 2014.
And that was
Makes
Carmelo at the height
That
of
was
his
Carmelo
at the
with
height of his
all the
powers.
old
But
guys.
you
Yeah.
want to know what the actual crazier one to me is that between 2002 and 2020, which is 19 seasons, we only had one season where we had an above average defense, and that was 2012.
That doesn't really surprise me. I mean,
Yeah,
all
no,
those Knicks. I mean, after 2003, all those Knicks teams were like pretty horrendous.
Yeah.
We made the playoffs like 4 times, I guess, after 2003. I was like right when was that the year that Houston got hurt and was irreparably damaged. I don't know. I was
I
so
think
young
around
then.
then. Yeah, I think it was around
Yeah,
then.
Yeah, but I'm
yeah.
just thinking, right? I'm talking about you went 19 years. You had one season where you were better than average on defense. You think that you could do that, once or
By
twice?
accident.
Yeah, you would
Yeah.
accidentally have a mediocre defense at least one more time.
I mean, we're essentially rebuilding for 20 years without any draft picks. So, yeah, you can imagine the dysfunction.
That's the result of all the GMs that were in charge for those 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me a lot of like what the Yankees are kind of going through right now.
Right now, yeah.
Where it's like, where they like retooled real quickly with a bunch of kids in their farm system. And then they were like, all right, well, now we got to spend a bunch of money on free agents. That's kind of.
But the problem is they want to spend, but they don't want to spend enough. What it takes. So it's kind of it makes them a high end treadmill team.
Listen,
Right.
I don't think we have time to get into the Yankees today.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, so yeah, I guess let's wrap this up because we're gonna do another one of these in 2 days.
Yep.
Kind of a brutal first half for the Knicks, but Julius Randle and Taj Gibson doing some things. Like who would have thought that Taj Gibson would be your second scorer on a night that you actually win a game? But that happened. The Knicks win 108-100 over a beat up, injured Pistons team. We've got one more preseason game this coming Friday, and then on Wednesday, October 20th, we start the season, and hopefully, Coke will be back. I don't know. I can't speak for Slice because Slice hasn't responded to us in the Discord. But yeah, hopefully we'll have the whole gang back together. And I don't know if anybody's actually watching this right now, but I hope you like what you heard. And if you haven't already subscribed, you should do it. Maybe hit a thumbs up too. That'd be cool. And this is another episode of the No Blood, No Foul podcast.